unvetted.
But to Anna's point, they weren't unvetted. That's the point. Like these are people that are here. I think Anna's right. You don't actually understand the process that someone has to go through when they come and immigrate.
Unvetted illegal criminals there's an opportunity cost to them. There's an opportunity cost to them. Every single day. Last week there was somebody. Last week
to be in the country.
I want to hop into a CNN panel debate on immigration that gets pretty spicy pretty quick. So leave us a like on the video. It helps us out a ton. We're aiming for 100 by the end of the day. Subscribe and comment for the algorithm, and we can just get straight down to the breakdown.
He was elected because people wanted deportations. And I think it's important when we talk about this issue to provide the context, because they see every day that passes, if we aren't deporting potentially unvetted illegal criminals, there's an opportunity cost to them. There's an opportunity cost to them. Every single day. Last week there was somebody. Last week
to be in the country. And he was not a criminal. And over 70% of the people that are getting deported and
my point is that every day
have criminal records. So be careful with your words and be accurate on national TV.
My point is that
you're lying.
I'm not lying.
You're lying.
My point is,
if the man had a legal status here, he was not unvetted.
So we don't.
No, do you understand how immigration works?
Let me just clear this up. In the two cases that we're talking about here, you have one individual who had no criminal record, who'd been in the country for 35 years, had never had an interaction with law enforcement, and he was not the target. In Maine, you had somebody, we actually don't know what his immigration status was, but we do know that he had a work permit and he had a social security number.
I understand, and that is a tragedy.
And Anna is correct that most of the arrests that are being made are people who do not have criminal records.
And that's actually super important here to counter what her point was, where she says, Trump got elected to do this, but the cell is very important, because what he told people is it's violent criminals flooding in from mental asylums and worse, and they're destroying our country, and I'm gonna get the worst of them out. We repeatedly heard that, right? The worst first. So now when we have less than 7% with violent criminal records, over 70% with no criminal record, and 15% with like immigration violations, and you're ending TPS for hardworking Haitians who have been here for years and not committing crimes, well, it doesn't really feel like we're doing the worst first, which then isn't what he was elected for. So to try and defend this like that, it's weird. And what they do is they conflate these, legal immigrants, even undocumented, nonviolent immigrants, with whatever random story or crime they can rattle off that was done by an immigrant to like justify it through collective punishment.
There was a trooper in Pennsylvania who was killed by somebody who had a commercial driver's license who didn't speak English. Every day there's something that happens to Americans. And so the administration is looking at that bigger picture. They're looking at the context, and they're realizing we also need to prioritize.
What is this collective punishment thing that keeps coming up every time we talk about immigration? Why is it that someone else's crimes are the responsibility of other people who did not commit those crimes?
But to Anna's point, they weren't unvetted. That's the point. Like these are people that are here. I think Anna's right. You don't actually understand the process that someone has to go through when they come and immigrate or apply for work status.
A lot of people didn't go through that process.
So here's the thing. But we're talking about the two individuals that were killed.
Work permit, that man had been vetted.
Full stop.
If he had a work permit, that means that he either had a political asylum claim pending, or he had some sort of claim pending, a residency. Something was pending if he had a legal a work permit. You don't give work permits to people who are here illegally.
That really does tap into the core of the problem here. Many in MAGA just do not understand how government writ large works, and especially not immigration enforcement. They get their information from Trump, who dumbs things down like he's talking to children. Like, many of these people actually literally think that immigrants just waltzed in under Biden. They walked across the border, were handed a debit card and keys to a house. Nobody asked their name, their identification, or anything, and now they're just in the country scot-free working and everything. This is the problem when you aren't moved by data and instead just vote off vibes, where Trump really did tap into racial paranoia and underlying bigotry in a lot of people, which is a damn powerful motivator on things like immigration. So MAGA now thinks, well, immigrants are doing the bulk of crime and taking their jobs, despite it never having once been true in the history of this country.
We're in an election coming up. I understand what Mike Davis is concerned with as a radio host, but as a strategist, I have to be concerned with numbers.
And not even
we
just the
want to add to our coalition and not subtract. And so when I'm looking at independents, I have to look at some of the factors that suggest to me that maybe some of this turns them off. And what does that mean for some of our vulnerable Republicans, particularly in the House? So that's the way I'm looking at
like
this.
Susan Collins. I mean, this is happening in a place where they have a competitive Senate race. Okay, it's not like a hypothetical thing. Susan Collins is in a fight for her life right now. That's why she tried to take credit for the pause yesterday, and now they leave her hanging. This seems like the worst politics.
It's hilariously bad politics. And the thing is, like, they know this. I think they were truly banking on one of their many cheating schemes to pan out, thus they wouldn't have to really worry. And like, as we've seen each one fail, they get more and more desperate, which is why now the communism rants are practically a daily thing. It's the last card they have left because gerrymandering failed, voter disenfranchisement failed, Trump has failed the economy, he started a war, failed diplomacy. So like, what else do they have? It's even hard to say the immigration stuff was a final nail in the coffin given everything else, but he has murdered 2 Americans, slandered their names, and then like lied in hopes to defend his agency. It's bad politics for everyone involved. Like JD Vance as the next guy up for 2028 now has to defend going to the podium to defend defend lying about 2 Americans that his agency murdered.
They don't want us to arrest their future Democratic voters. That's what they believe. But it all goes back to the Dems who want to continually attack ICE and tell people to evade them, tell people don't comply. There's still going to be more bloodshed unless they shut their mouth and let ICE enforce the laws that they enacted.
What is your reaction, given I don't think I've heard you say evade arrest. I think I've heard you say you have constitutional rights.
I've never said that. But, I mean, what else do you say on faux news? You go on there and just like their fake news, you're going to deliver more fake news to those that are watching. And it is really unfortunate because right now they want people to believe, and this is why we see the divisions that we see in this country right now. They want people to believe that we are the ones that are trying to instigate some harm on the American people. And that's not the case. We want to be safe in our homes, to be safe at church, to be safe at school, to be safe at, worship. We want to be safe.
I think at some point, just those with common sense have to realize that when someone is like, it's always the other person's fault, at some point they do have to be lying. The amount of brainwash you have to be to think it's always the Democrats or even it's always the Republicans to that point is extremely delusional. But as she said, the standard on Fox News is so low, you just call it fake news, you say it's the Democrats or it's actually good because Trump, and the base will eat it up. We do have to remember, we're talking about a group that will still tell you the 2020 election was stolen after 60 court cases, after winning 2024. They do not live in reality. So as ICE murders people in the streets and MAGA wants to give them more money, gives them billions more, and refuses any reforms whatsoever, well, it's not a shock that they think they can also get away with just blaming it on the Democrats. It's just that the midterms cannot come fast enough.